So if you haven't already heard, the drummer for the Foo Fighters, Taylor Hawkins, passed away this weekend. I was literally on our tour bus, and our drummer Renee came up to me. He's like, "Yo, Taylor Hawkins died," and I was like, "What? No way!" I thought he was joking. I literally thought he was joking, and turns out it was true. It's terrible, and it's been awful. And I realized immediately when I heard the news, I was like, "I got to talk about this. I need to get this out of my system." And like, um, and again, I'm gonna keep this just kind of short and sweet. I'm not going to monetize this video, obviously, because that would be super scummy. I'm not going to talk too long. I'm not going to worry about like the details, the why did it happen, all that stuff. I'm just going to focus on the positives. I want to reminisce on some stories that I have, and I really want to talk about what Taylor Hawkins as a musician and the Foo Fighters in general mean to me as not only a musician, but as a person as well. So I guess I'll talk about first. I discovered the Foo Fighters through Rock Band, which is a little silly, but that's how I found a lot of music. That's how a lot of people my age discovered a lot of music was through Foo Fighters, Weezer, Red Hot Chili Peppers, all these bands that I love and have been influenced by. I found through Rock Band, and I remember the first song I ever heard by Foo Fighters. I'm pretty sure it was "Learn to Fly." And that's off their album, There's Nothing Left to Lose, which was the first album that Taylor recorded on. So the first few seconds of the Foo Fighters was that I heard, technically. I may have heard Everlong before somewhere, but like was the bow na 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 na, and like the huge snare hit at the beginning of that song. He played drums on that album, and if you know anything about their history, Dave actually wrote. He did all the stuff, most of the stuff, on their debut record, and then they had another drummer, William Goldsmith, in the band for a little while, and he toured. But like, "Color and the Shape" was the second album, but Dave actually tracked the drums on that album. So, and Dave was really particular about drums, and he was like, he needed somebody who could fill that role as the drummer of the Foo Fighters. And then in comes Taylor Hawkins, who was I believe at the time playing drums for Alanis Morissette, and she's also great, but that's how they found him. And like, Taylor just wanted to be a part of a band, and then he got in contact with Dave, and the rest is history. So that's how I was introduced to the Foo Fighters, was through Learn to Fly. And around that time, that's what was going on when Taylor joined the band. And to this day, the Foo Fighters are still my favorite band. Like, I quote them as my favorite band to everybody. Like, I love other bands. Like, American Football is another huge influence on me and one of my favorites. Without the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I wouldn't be a bass player. So that's the thing. But the Foo Fighters, it was kind of a slow burn process over time. Like, because I started playing guitar first. I didn't start on bass. I started playing guitar first. And I literally spent most of my high school years in my bedroom learning Foo Fighters songs. And, I actually used to play drums a long time ago. I haven't played in at least 7 years. I'd love to get back into it. But I remember specifically learning the song Rope, because Rope was always a really hard song for me to play, because the way Taylor played it was so cool. Like the chorus where he's like, I can't even describe it, where you just have to hear the song, where he was like keeping his foot on his left foot on the hi-hat, keeping time, but he's also like playing the cymbal the way he did, and then he has the drum solo, and like, I can't do that justice with just doing that. But like, for those of you who have heard the song, and like, Rope was a huge deal to me, because that's a great album. Wasting Light, check it out. But all that to say is, like, I remember playing songs, like even deep cuts, like Low, where if you listen to the drums on Low, Taylor's just going nuts. It's like just a lot of toms, and like it's a really aggressive song for them, and it sounds a lot darker. It's off of One by One, and it's a great song. And I would play to all of these songs, and it kind of taught me how to play, and it also like made me a better musician. And I owe that to the Foo Fighters. And then they came out with documentaries. This is a huge deal. Like, this is a huge deal for them. back and forth. If you've ever seen it, I've seen it like 100 times. Like it's like probably my favorite documentary ever. You learn a lot about Taylor and his past with the band, and like how he'd had his own struggles in his past, and how during the making of One by One, they almost had like this huge fallout because like Chris Shiflett joined the band, and then there was tension in the band, and like you just have to watch it. It's a great documentary. And then Sound City comes out, and then Sonic Highways comes out, and then all of these things, and I've seen those like so many times. And like as a high schooler wanting to pursue music like as my thing, I was confused in high school. The high school that I went to was very like it was very discouraging, like the atmosphere that I was surrounded in. I was in a guitar class, and I would do stuff like talent shows, and I would like bring a guitar. Like I embarrassed easily, but I felt like embarrassed to be like carrying this guitar case with me through the hallways. And it's like I didn't want people to see that. It's like, oh, they're gonna say something, they're gonna think I'm this, they're gonna think I'm that. But like trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life at that time, it was really comforting to know, and even into like my college years too, it was comforting to watch these documentaries of these dudes who just love music and they just pursued it. And like this includes the Foo Fighters, obviously, but like Taylor Hawkins is a huge part of that. Without him, they would have never kept going, and we wouldn't have got albums like There's Nothing Left to Lose, One by One, In Your Honor, Echoes, Silence, Patience, and Grace, and then there's Wasting Light, and then Sonic Highways, and then like Concrete and Gold, and then Medicine at Midnight, which is the newest album, and then there's all these other projects that they did, which was like the Sound City stuff, and that's great too. All that to say is like I just remember so much of what they did and what they still do has influenced me so much as a musician. And without the Foo Fighters, I wouldn't be in bands. You wouldn't see me playing with groups like Stay Here or Clavicle or a band called Love. You wouldn't see me doing anything musically to the extent that I'm doing it now without that band. And I have a funny story. I actually got a chance to see the Foo Fighters live. I saw them with my dad, and I think this is a couple years ago. I don't remember. I still had hair then, which is kind of funny. It was on the out though. It was I remember having a terrible hair day and dressing poorly. So I do remember that. But we saw them in Atlanta. I don't remember exactly where, but I remember the kids from Stranger Things. Like that was a big deal at the time. And like they were side stage. Like I could see them on the side of the stage, which was really cool. And my dad and I went, and I remember, if you know anything about my dad is a silly man. He's kind of like me. But that's like a compliment. Like he's silly in the best way possible. So like this dude in front of him offered him a joint, and just my dad telling me that story, like he didn't take it, but like just him telling me that story when I didn't even know what was going on. I was so invested in the music. Like it was just really funny that he's like, yeah, man, he just this like older Southern fella just being like, hey, yeah, man, he just offered me a joint. And I was like, oh my God, it's not really a big deal, but like, it's just a funny experience that I had and I will always remember. Again, that being said, like I've had so many good memories of the Foo Fighters and just like staying up to like 3 a.m. playing, like learning the guitar parts and learning all my favorite songs by them. And I remember my dad's room used to be like on the like my room would be here, and there's like a thin wall. My dad's room would be here, and I remember he'd go doo, 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 and like bang on the door at like 2 or 3 a.m. because he had to sleep because I was playing guitar so much. And I asked him when I moved out. I moved out when I was 22. I was like, "Do you miss that?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, I miss that." So it's just good memories all around. And like I don't know, man. I just wanted to talk about some of the positive things and the way that band has impacted me. And losing somebody like Taylor Hawkins is a huge deal to me. That's like losing a Chris Cornell or Chester Bennington or something like that, which is like some relatively recent examples of that. Because I have a lot of friends who love Linkin Park, and when they found out that Chester passed away, it crushed them. And like I know, for example, Scott was is a big Van Halen fan, and he appreciates what they've done for him as a musician. And then when Eddie Van Halen passed away, Scott was just devastated. And I felt for him because it's like, man, that's one of your musical heroes just gone. So that's how I feel about Taylor. You know, like, I'm not a drummer. I'm a bassist, you know, who happens to play guitar and has played drums in the past. But Taylor's drum parts, it kept me going. You know, it gave me inspiration to want to play those songs. And I would hear things like, I remember when Concrete Gold came out. Even then, that was like around 2017-ish. I don't even remember. Don't quote me on that. But I remember playing and like playing those songs. And like White Limo was another one that I remember playing. And just stuff like that. His drumming was so solid. And you know, when a drummer like Dave Grohl's like, yeah, that's my guy. Like, you know, they're legit. And he also, I just recently learned he played drums on a Coheed and Cambria album. Without the Foo Fighters, I would not be where I am today musically. So, thank you, Taylor Hawkins, for keeping this band going, and you will be missed.